Smart solutions, real results, marketing that works.
Late and engaged. Find your focus.
It's Morning Talk on News Talk 1250 KBRF, brought to you by Pioneer Care and Fergus Falls Monument Company. Now, here's Mary Dolan and Dave Bishop.
And then again, good Tuesday morning. Joining me now, I've got Derek Sidian in for Mary Dolan, who's on assignment. Derek, always fun to have you in.
Yeah, good morning. It's a morning, all right.
It is definitely a morning. We got a lot of things to cover. Big congratulations goes out to Florida and everybody who picked Florida in their brackets, as it looks like Florida won the NCAA championship game last night. So congratulations to everybody who picked it. I didn't watch any of it. I was so depressed with my brackets that I didn't watch any of the Final Four. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, Derek.
I couldn't do it just because I don't have the time. I don't know the time. Something like that, you get all those games. I don't understand how people have the time to watch so much. Props to all the sports people out there. Just being able to keep up with so many different games.
Yeah, it's especially those first couple of rounds where all those games are going on at once.
Oh yeah, like that's
intense. I'd love to go to Vegas and watch it because they've got huge sports book rooms with like tons and tons of TVs, and so they could have all of them on at once. So that would be pretty insane.
I think that would just be way too much. I think that would just overload my senses completely.
I'd like to try it. I mean, I've been in those rooms before, and it's kind of interesting. I was over there during baseball season, and so they had like a whole bunch of the baseball games on, and so that was kind of fun. But I think it'd be interesting for the NCAA, the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it would. I mean, for any sport, just being able to watch all the games at once, I imagine it would be very interesting to try and keep up.
Hey, one thing I didn't mention yesterday that we should have, and that is, speaking of sports, Alex Ovechkin passed Wayne Gretzky for the all-time leading scorer in hockey. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Gretzky like congratulating him.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's really cool being able to have that Gretzky was able to.
Yeah,
do
Gretzky
that.
has always been a class act. So
yeah. I think they showed an interview back from when he broke the record, saying that he really hopes that he's going to do his best to be there for the guy that eventually beats him. So I think having that come full circle like decades later is really cool.
It is kind of funny because it was one of those records that a lot of people said would never be broken. It was just so high. But Ovechkin, who was drafted in 04 and started in 05, and the funny thing is when he tied Gretzky's record, he did it in one less game than Gretzky did. So he scored all those goals in pretty much the exact same pace as Gretzky did.
Wow.
And it was intense. And one thing I talked to Mary about this when this happened a couple weeks ago. One of the Minnesota Wild goalies, Marc-Andre Fleury, has been around for years, and this is kind of his swan song. He's going to be retiring at the end of this year. And when the Capitals finished playing the Wild for the last time, the Wild won the game, and the Capitals were skating off and going to the locker room. He yelled at all of them and said, "Hey, get back out here, shake his hand." So he got all of his teammates out to shake Marc-Andre Fleury's hand and say, "Hey, it's been fun playing against you." So that he is definitely a class act.
Yeah, that's just good sportsmanship.
Yeah. So let's hop into some of the news. As I mentioned earlier, the University of Florida Gators won the college basketball national championship with a dramatic comeback against the University of Houston, securing a narrow 65-63 victory. The Gators, trailing by as much as 12, rallied with a high-octane offense and scrappy defense to take the lead in the final minute, ultimately winning the game. The Dow and the S&P 500 experienced a volatile day of trading due to mixed signals on the President Trump's tariffs. The Dow recorded its largest intraday point swing, dropping 349 points. While the S&P 500 closed down at 0.23%. The market fluctuated in response to Trump's tariff negotiation comments, but ultimately ended lower.
Yeah, that was so weird to see because it was just dropping, 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 and then for I think they said like 20 minutes after like there was a headline quoting a tweet about negotiations being possible, it just went up, and then the White House came out and was like, actually, no, not like that. No, we're still planning on going through with these tariffs. There's not going to be a delay or anything. It just went right back down. It was so interesting to see.
Yeah. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorsed the MMR vaccine as the most effective way to prevent measles amid a deadly outbreak, provoking backlash from his anti-vaccine advocate supporters. He instructed the CDC to supply vaccines to Texas and defended his endorsement with scientific evidence. Yeah, the MMR vaccine is very important to get.
Yeah, well, that would be a first. I mean, vaccines have been around for so long, and I think some of this disinformation about vaccines is really becoming a detriment to lots of places, and especially to young kids.
Yeah.
That those are the people who are getting hurt. It's not the parents making that decision, for children when they're young. It's the children themselves. They have to deal with that growing up. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think it's good that he's finally being like, yeah, you should definitely be getting your measles vaccine. But I think I'm feeling like it's a little too, it's getting too late to switch that up. And I think there's too many people who, like I said, the anti-vaccine activist supporters are going up against him because they have a firm belief now. And so,
and one of the reasons why a lot of them kind of what they're basing it on is, hey, look at the COVID vaccine. The COVID vaccine was awful. It didn't really work. It maybe lessened your symptoms, but if you get a vaccine, you don't get it. Right. I mean, I had COVID vaccine. I had the first 3 shots. I still got COVID 3 times.
I mean, but it's kind of like the flu shot too, right? It's those vaccines. I'm a little more lenient on, like, if you don't want to get those vaccines that they're constantly updating, constantly changing, I can understand that. But it's the measles. It's the ones that they've spent decades
They've been working
researching and then implementing, and they haven't really changed since then. Those are the ones that's like, these are important to get. Otherwise, all these old diseases that we thought were dead, countries keep there's been reports of countries keeping traces of all of these diseases to use, potentially weaponize. Getting into a little bit of Zach Daniels conspiracy talk here, but that's reports of that have been said for years. So we need to keep having people be vaccinated for those really deadly diseases that, like I said, vaccines were made years ago after decades of research.
It was eradicated for a while in the U.S., and it just recently kind of had this real big bump where it's kind of really resurfaced.
Yeah, all it takes is for one person somewhere across the world to still have it, and for not everyone to be vaccinated.
Well, the Trump administration has revoked visas for over 24 students, including a Harvard, UMass Boston, University of Michigan, Stanford, and, well, a whole bunch of other people. Secretary of State Marco Rubio previously stated that at least 300 visas had been revoked, mainly related to the pro-Palestinian protests. So kind of going after some of the protesters and say, hey, if you don't want to be here, don't be here.
I think that's still such a not great take to have on this. I think revoking student visas for doing one thing that the U.S. is supposed to be known for, right? First Amendment freedom of speech, the freedom to protest. I think taking away student visas over that, that gets into really dicey territory. that I don't think is a great precedent to set moving forward.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of the airlines. And a 46-year-old man from Jordan was charged with endangerment and assault after allegedly attempting to open emergency doors during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Sydney. The man's disruptive behavior led to crew members and passengers restraining him after he tried to open multiple emergency exits, ultimately assaulting an airline staff member. The Australian Federal Police condemned his actions, highlighting the potential tragic consequences of such behavior and emphasizing the need for safety on flights. Each charge against the passenger carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. AirAsia commended its crew in handling the situation professionally. Now, Derek, you've been on an airplane fairly recently, as have I. I don't know about you, but when I got on the airplane, I kind of looked around to see who all the other big guys were, and I'm like, okay, I think I could team up with these guys, and we could take somebody down if needed.
Oh, I did not look at that at all. For one, I'm not a very big guy. Like I'm on the taller side, but I'm like in terms of like muscle mass, I am not very large. So I don't though it probably would be great in that little aisle, I can slip past some of those guys and really
We'll tackle 'em.
take someone down. But no, that's not something I really looked at when I was on the plane. But yeah, that is something to be vigilant on and making sure that
I,
things like this don't happen.
I really didn't think about it too much until we were in Charlotte on our way back to Minneapolis, and we all had to deplane because a guy one aisle forward and then all the way up against the window aisle started doing some weird chanting and just talking about some weird stuff, and he had to be removed from the plane, and he refused to be removed from the plane, so we all had to be removed from the plane so they could remove him from the plane. And
Ooh.
yeah, he was having a little bit of a psychotic episode, they said. And yeah, he made us all leave, and it's like, well, I wonder if there's any more people like that on this plane.
Yeah, no, those situations like that are so scary because when you're up in the air, you really have such limited control of what's going on. And so to have a wild card like that on your plane with you, not a fun experience.
Now, Derek, you're significantly younger than I am. I always like pointing this out, and it's kind of an interesting dichotomy. I'm 20 years younger than Mary, and you're 20 years younger than I am. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a neat little, 20 year thing. And so you had a little bit of a different childhood than I had. Did you guys have trampolines, those big kind of fenced-in trampolines that people use?
So mine wasn't fenced in.
Oh.
I didn't have a fenced in one. I think eventually our trampolines always got wrecked, especially because we had a lot of our yard we ended up using as a horse pasture, or like we would switch around and have the horses like be grazing so we wouldn't have to mow certain sections during certain months. And they would rip up our trampoline like when I was older. So I I remember there was one year I think we got a new one and it did come with a net, but we never used it. I've fallen off of plenty of trampolines in my life.
That does explain a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But did you have it anchored to the ground, or did you just kind of just put it there?
No, it was just wild and free. It was, not something that I would recommend or have for my own child. But yeah, it was open season with our trampoline.
Well, it looks like an 8-year-old Utah boy named Jack Smith had a miraculous brush with death while jumping on a trampoline. A sudden wind gust lifted him up and the trampoline 20 feet into the air and propelling him over 2 cinder block walls before landing in the street. Jake emerged with only minor injuries and a slight concussion and some scratches, prompting his mom called it a complete miracle. Hospital staff were amazed by Jack's outcome, highlighting the rarity of such accidents. The Smith family emphasized the importance of securing trampolines to avoid similar accidents. Jake is now more cautious, jokingly plans to ask others if their trampolines are bolted down before bouncing. So.
Yeah, I would ask that question too if I had an experience like that. I will say I did not have any wind gusts blow me up into the air like that. And again, that's not, as a kid, that's not something you necessarily think about. You just see the trampoline, and you're like, I can barely, or at least with us, like we didn't have any sort of way to get up. We just had to kind of climb up there. And, it's a couple feet in the air. So, you're just a small little creature trying to climb up onto this trampoline, excited to bounce. You don't think about the idea that, you know, 20-mile-per-hour gust of wind comes and just whoop, there you go.
Yeah, that is something that I'd like to just kind of remind parents as we get into the trampoline season coming up here in the next couple months. That might be something you might want to do is to make sure you kind of bolt it down to the ground. I've seen in that news story, I've seen the video version of that where they were interviewing the parent, and they were showing people with like little concrete blocks, and then they were kind of bolted down to that. So just a little bit of a thought, maybe find a way to bolt it down. I know for my tree stand or my deer stand, I've got one of those. I've got several of those big screws that you kind of screw into the ground and use those as an anchor to make sure that doesn't go anywhere. And that'd be probably really good because I know that my deer stand isn't going anywhere.
Right.
So that'd be probably a good idea for those little bouncy trampolines because I never really thought about that actually flying away with some kid in it.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, our longtime neighbors, they had a trampoline, and Adam would go over there and play with Aiden, and never really even thought of that actually happening.
And I've seen videos of trampolines like in a storm getting like blown away, and like you could see them rolling down the street.
But that's a storm.
Yeah, that's a storm, and there's no kids like playing on it at that time. So it's not something I thought about of like, oh yeah, a kid bouncing on it, and all of a sudden just right timing and bye kid, I guess. Like that's so scary.
Yeah.
To think about.
Well, you're listening to Morning Talk on News Talk 1250 KBRF, brought to you by Pioneer Care and by Fergus Monument. Coming up here, we'll check out the markets. Also on the way, we've got more things to talk about. It's News Talk 1250 KBRF. Depend on it.
Back with more Morning Talk with Mary Dolan and Dave Bishop. Brought to you by Pioneer Care and Fergus Falls Monument Company. After the markets on News Talk 1250 KBRF. Depend on it.
Age is more than just a number. It's a journey worth celebrating. Join News Talk 1250 KBRF for Celebrate Aging, presented by Pioneer Care on Wednesday, July 2nd at the Bigwood Event Center in Fergus Falls. Discover resources and connect with experts on healthy, happy aging. Whether you're attending or showcasing your services, this event is for you. Want to reserve a booth? Visit LaytonEvents.com today. Let's embrace the beauty of growing older together. See you on June 2nd.
Hey there, local farmers. Tired of the hassle of processing and butchering your livestock? They've got you covered at Lake Cabin Meat and Deli Company, your trusted partner in meat processing. From custom cuts to expert butchering, they handle it all with care and precision. Whether it's beef, pork, or lamb, they deliver a quality you can count on. Serving Fergus Falls and the Lakes area, they're proud to support local farmers just like you. Call them today at Lake Cabin Meat and Deli Company, where quality meets tradition.
The Minnesota Twins and News Talk 1250 AM KBRF. Depend on it.
Twins and the Royals will do it again. Game 2 of a 4-game series tonight from Kansas City. Join me, Chris Atterbury, alongside Hall of Famer Paul Molitor. Pablo Lopez versus Cole Reagans as the Twins try to snap a 5-game losing streak to the Royals. It's coming up with a 6 o'clock lineup card, 6:40 first pitch on your home for Twins baseball.
News Talk 1250 AM KBRF. Depend on it.
Unique farming operations need unique financial solutions. Ag Country Farm Credit Services offers customized financing that fits any size farm, ranch, or agribusiness. The next time you're in the market for more land, equipment, facilities, or maybe even an operating loan, contact the team at Ag Country. They know agriculture and will work for you. Ag Country. Focused on ag, focused on you. Ag Country is an equal opportunity lender.
Markets this hour brought to you by Ag Country Farm Credit Services, a customer-owned cooperative.
Good morning. Market update on the Red River Farm Network. I'm Randy Conan. Grain markets are turning mixed here. Got soybeans still holding on to the strength, and wheat 2 to 3 cents lower That's pulling corn a little bit lower as well here. Right now we're unchanged to a penny higher in the corn. Bauer trading analyst Ben Cash thinks soybeans holding strength, trying to buy some acres.
A little concerned about the acreage number that we got out last Monday. You know, that's kind of been overshadowed by the tariff situation, but right now, you know, there does remain some concerns about the flooding down in the Delta, some replant that needs to be done, and, you know, new crop beans just not really in the battle for acres across a lot of the high producing yielding areas here in the U.S. So I think there's a lot of concern that, you know, we may not get the acres that we need there on the soybean front, especially if we get a trade deal done with China.
Seeing a livestock market that's firmer here across the board today, trying to find footing.
We've seen some liquidation, a correction, which I'd say the cattle market probably needed. We're seeing some improvement on the outsides, crude up, S&P rebounding, metals rebounding a little bit. That's bringing some new buying back into the cattle. We're still seeing good box beef prices. You know, on the tariff front, it still leans pretty supportive to those box beef prices, as we won't get, you know, that cheaper beef imported into the U.S. So I'd say the beef market still seems pretty resilient, and that's helping pull the hog market back up too.
The cash cattle market's quiet here this morning as well. Box beef cutouts are expected to be higher on light to moderate box movement. Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 1,382 points. This is the Red River Farm Network.
Minnesota Farm Bureau is an advocate for agriculture, driven by member policy. Vice President Carolyn Olson recaps the recent Minnesota Farm Bureau trip to Washington, D.C.
We had 21 members travel to D.C. It was a very good group, a good mix of first-time attendees to Washington, D.C. and returning members. So it was a good time to be able to talk about, too, the importance of the Farm Bill, the importance of the tax bill, and also agriculture labor and issues like that. You know, it was a good time to be able to bring up the personal impact stories and be able to push the urgency of the need to get a farm bill done. And in every discussion, we were able to bring those stories and put a face on the issue that said, we need this farm bill to be done.
Contact your local Farm Bureau office or visit fbmn.org.
Farm Rescue makes sure that you aren't alone. They're there to extend the hand and to take the burden.
Even the most independent farmers need help sometimes, and asking for that help is protecting the future. Farm Rescue provides equipment and volunteers free of charge to assist in times of crisis. We're currently accepting applications for planting and haying assistance. If you or someone you know could use our help, call 701-252-2017 or visit farmrescue.org today.
The Red River Farm Network is reporting agriculture's business with the markets, farm news, and weather information you need each and every day.
Again, hats off to you, Don, and the Red River, what you guys do, connecting your listeners to what's happening and people and telling stories. You guys are doing an awesome job at it, so thank you.
That's Greg Peterson, better known as Machine Repeat. The Red River Farm Network can be heard from Worthington to War Road, from Bismarck to Bemidji, 23 radio stations, and online at rrfm.com.
May wheat Minneapolis is down 3 3/4 at $5.90 1/4. Chicago May wheat down 1 1/4. Kansas City May wheat down 4 1/4. May corn down 3/4 penny, $4.64. December corn's up 1/4 penny at $4.46 1/4. May soybeans 15 cents higher, 15 1/4 higher now, $9.98 1/4. November soybeans 9 3/4 cents higher, $9.90 3/4. In Winnipeg, May canola $5.80 a metric ton higher. April live cattle $2.07 higher at $2.01. April feeder cattle $3.60 higher at $2.81.42. April lean hogs are unchanged at $87.80. This is the Red River Farm Network.
This is the Ox, and I'm going to Washington, D.C. as part of our Ox Across America 2025 series. Broadcasting Wednesday, April 9th with Grover Norquist at Americans for Tax Reform, and Thursday the 10th from the U.S. Capitol and Tom Emmer's Congressional Whip Office. You'll hear conversations with D.C. leaders, congressmen and women, and senators on the front lines of this new Trump revolution. Tell your friends and tune in to Hot Talk with the Ox in Washington, D.C. April 9th and 10th from 2 to 5 on News Talk 1250 KBRF.
Whoa, dudes, got a case of cabin fever? Let's cure it. Retro tropical style. The Fergus Falls Craft Beer Tour, presented by Builders First Source, is hitting the Big Wood Event Center on Friday, May 2nd from 5 to 9. Rock those neon windbreakers. Soak up the vibes and sip unlimited craft beverages. Have some fun in the indoor sun with your crew and support a local nonprofit. New this year, all VIP attendees get a fresh pair of pitties. Yeah, don't miss out. Surf on over to craftbeertours.com. Your next favorite beer is here.
KBRF presents Where to Eat, the culinary adventure, sponsored by Dandelion and Burdock and Service Food in Fergus Falls.
Hi, I'm Zach Daniels.
And I'm Dave Bishop, your guide to the region's culinary treasures.
Join us as we explore various restaurants, uncover delicious meals, and highlight each restaurant's signature dish.
Experience diverse cuisine types, unique atmospheres, and must-try dishes. Check it out on KBRFradio.com and the Fergus Now app.
New episodes air every first Friday of the month. Where to Eat, powered by Dandelion and Burdock and Service Food of Fergus Falls.
Are you ready for marketing that works as hard as you do? At Leighton & Gage, we're local. Real strategists, real people, right here in your community. We don't just market, we go all in. From strategy to execution, we hustle and deliver results that make an impact for your business. Tailored solutions, real results, marketing that works.
Leighton & Gage. Find your focus.
If shore lunches and backstraps are a main part of your diet, then we've got a radio show for you. Sporting Journal Radio. It's the Midwest's radio home for the outdoors. I'm Brett Amundson, and I'll get you caught up on the latest hunting, fishing, and outdoor information each week with tips from guides, biologists, and wild game cooks. Tune in to Sporting Journal Radio.
Catch Sporting Journal Radio Saturday mornings at 8:06 on News Talk 1250 KBRF. Listen anytime, any place with the new Fergus Now app on your phone. Age is more than just a number. It's a journey worth celebrating. Join News Talk 1250 KBRF for Celebrate Aging, presented by Pioneer Care on Wednesday, July 2nd at the Big Wood Event Center in Fergus Falls. Discover resources and connect with experts on healthy, happy aging. Whether you're attending or showcasing your services, this event is for you. Want to reserve a booth? Visit LaytonEvents.com today. Let's embrace the beauty of growing older together. See you on June 2nd. News Talk 1250 KBRF. Listen anytime, any place with the Fergus Now app on your phone. Checking the forecast for today, topping out around 48, down to 34 for tonight's low, 61 for tomorrow's high, looking pretty nice. 37 for our tomorrow night's low. Thursday up around 48, then back up to 60 Friday, 66 Saturday, 67 on Sunday, 48 on Monday. So cooling off as we get back into the weekend, or a week, but the weekend looking really nice. 32 right now in Fergus Falls. It's Morning Talk, brought to you by Fergus Monument Company and by Pioneer Care. So looking forward to that weekend, Eric.
I'm so excited for warmth, and I'm getting really tired of this. Hey, we're getting warm, and now we're cold again. And we're getting warm, now we're cold again. I feel like it's been happening. It's happened more times than we're used to.
And it seems like all the cold days are always on the weekend. All the bad weather is always on the weekend.
Yeah, it's like we've had 4 fall springs this year, which is just wild. Lost my paper here. It's a great time. Dave, would you say that you're a pretty focused driver?
When I drive, yeah.
Yeah. Well, a recent survey released by Nationwide to coincide with National Distracted Driving Awareness Month reveals a staggering 92% increase in drivers looking at their phones more frequently over the past year.
Yeah, I don't look at my phone when I'm driving.
Yeah, no. 11% admit to reading or writing emails while driving.
Whoa.
Yeah. Email? Really? You're going to write an email while you're driving? That's... You shouldn't read or write anything while you're driving. But the thought of a whole email,
yeah,
like done properly, that's, despite a despite a familiarity with distracted driving laws, including texting restrictions, hands-free requirements, and handheld phone bans, a significant proportion of drivers doubt the effectiveness of these regulations in curbing distracted driving behaviors. Additionally, concerns have been raised about built-in touchscreens and displays contributing to driver distraction. That's one thing that I've always kind of thought was weird, with all these laws, that it's okay to have these crazy displays for your radio,
Yeah.
but the phones are the only thing really being tempered off there.
Yeah, but a lot of times when you have those displays and touchscreens on your phone, you also have hand controls on your steering wheel too.
Right. But how many, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't use those hand controls. Like they see the screen and they're like, oh, this is like my phone, and
Shiny
immediately
object.
gravitate towards the familiar. So I know there have been plenty of times where I've been in cars and I look at the little buttons on the wheels and I'm like, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea what half of these do.
Oh, the first thing I do is mess with them.
Yeah, I like to do that too, but I know there's a lot of people who just would rather not touch them and not.
I'm like shiny object, new gadgets. You will come to me.
Big red button. Oops, that's the flashers.
But yeah, it's I've talked to Mary about this many times. When we drive out of state or like in big cities and such, I'm a better navigator than Jen is, and she's a more patient driver than I am. And so she drives and I navigate. So that gives me a little free time because I'm not having to watch the traffic as much. I mean, I'll help her, swap lanes, like, hey, go now, or do this, do that. And so, but I get to look around and see what the other drivers are doing. You have no idea how many times I've seen people with like a newspaper up against the steering wheel as they're driving, their iPod, not their iPod, their iPad up against their phones, and just kind of reading and watching movies and stuff. It happens all the time, especially in the big cities.
Right. I wonder how many times, like, especially like on the interstate, with how quickly traffic moves by, how many times people are doing that, and like, there's not really a great way for law enforcement to see that.
No.
Like, even if you think of like nighttime, there's so many screens in your car that if a police officer were to drive by you and your face is lit up, that's not necessarily a phone. That could easily be your giant radio screen just doing nothing.
The one enforcement that I always get a kick out of, and they may do it other places, but I know up in Fargo-Moorhead that they do it. I don't remember if it's Fargo and Moorhead or if it's just one or the other. They'll go around with a school bus with tinted windows and video cameras, and they will do little enforcement sweeps, and they'll video you doing it, and then they'll call in one of their buddies or come up and pull you over and give you a ticket.
Yeah, I just always kind of wonder how they're able to find some of those, and it really is concerning. We were talking, I was talking to one of my teachers yesterday in class, and it was actually someone else's class that I happened to be sitting in on, but and that conversation got brought up of like the people who get killed from distracted driving, and what that even not something like looking at your phone, just like in the darkness, just like if it's dark and all of a sudden you look and then all of a sudden there's a person right in front of you.
Yep.
Like it's that easy when you're not distracted to miss someone. So I keep hearing things about that and just reminding me to be better about, because I'll like on the way back from Moorhead last night, I was listening to the city council meeting and I wasn't looking at my phone, but just listening to it and like trying to be invested in it. It was, I had to remind myself to not get too invested where I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's something you really have to make sure that even if you're listening to music or listening to the radio or a podcast, that your main focus is still on the road where you're driving.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, speaking of the city council meeting, we'll have Andrew Bremseth, the Fergusville City Administrator, coming in to recap that in a little less than an hour. We'll talk to Andrew at about 10:35. So
Yeah,
we'll have Andrew in and we'll
condense
find
an
out.
hour and a half meeting down into 25 minutes.
It may sound impossible, but we will get her done. But yeah, it's just kind of scary. But
Now all right. Let people in on this for a second. Dave, we have talked off air quite a few times about the Minecraft meals over at McDonald's right now. Yesterday we talked about the Minecraft movie, how that opened up. For anyone who missed it, you can rewatch yesterday's morning talk on KBRFradio.com. But one of the things we talked about was the Minecraft movie, and McDonald's has been doing this promotion with them. Well, it sounds like places overseas are getting an even better deal with Minecraft right about now. McDonald's collaborates with Minecraft for limited edition desserts globally, excluding the US. The UK is getting an apple cake McFlurry, Canada gets apple shake, and Singapore offers cotton candy trio. US fans hope for a similar treat. Minecraft movie meal and Happy Meals are also available.
that's brutal.
It really is. It's really sad. I got one of those meals yesterday, and they didn't have that nether sauce available that you were telling me about.
I love the nether sauce.
The meals, the Minecraft movie meals for adults, maybe for kids too, I didn't look, but for adults at least, come with a special sauce.
And it's hot.
And it wasn't available. I was really sad. I was really looking forward to trying it, and all my hopes were dashed in an instant.
All your hopes were dashed. So is this, guys. One of my favorite things in life are stupid criminals. I love it when they are dumb, and I love it when they're dumb when they get caught.
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee man Devin Bart learned a lesson the hard way after taunting law enforcement on TikTok, challenging them to find him. Guess what? They did. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office took his bait seriously, leading to Bart's arrest on domestic assault warrant without resistance. He's accused of several crimes involving his ex-girlfriend, including theft, verbal abuse, and confrontation. Chief Deputy Anthony Buckmeyer emphasized the gravity of this regarding warrants and the law, asserting that, quote, evading deputies is not a game. Ignoring the law has serious consequences. And, of course, if you do it online, they will find you.
Yeah, it's surprisingly scary how well non-law enforcement people can find your location just from a simple TikTok video. I was trying to quick find it. I'm not seeing it, but there is a guy where people will post a video being like, "Hey, find where I'm at." They're at this some weird location, remote location, and he will do extensive search. I saw one where he, at least allegedly, used the triangulation of the stars. Like he could see stars in the background, like where they were at.
Oh, wow.
In regards to other information as well. It wasn't just he just used a star, but he used a bunch of different other information, things they had posted earlier, and like kind of getting an idea where the region was at, and then finding little things, and directly found exactly where someone was at. It's some like abandoned gas station
That's
in the middle of
kinda cool.
California. It's really cool, but also super, super scary. And one of the lead stories for today in our local news is that survey that's been going around in text messages is a Fergus Falls issue survey. It is not a survey distributed by the city of Fergus Falls or the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce. It is we don't know who it is. I saw a couple of Facebook comments saying that a couple people the message hadn't gone out yet that this was not an official thing. And some people had seen it, clicked on it, filled out information, and now we're getting spam calls. So it's just another thing of like, be very careful with what information you put out on the internet. It's really easy to say, well, all these companies have our information anyways, like who cares what gets put out there? But there are some people out there who can do some harm with that information, and it's really scary how easily they can.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. They just need a little bit of information, especially a little bit of your information. They can steal your identity. They can do a lot of things. I know when we were in Vegas, and one of the things I wanted to do is get as many of those players cards as possible. We'd go to every casino and get a players card. And one of the guys joked, well, get ready for a whole bunch of spam calls. And boy, did we get them.
Yeah.
We got a ton of spam calls after we left Vegas. And it's just, it's a little ridiculous, but that's how they make their money. Well, one of the ways that casinos make their money.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix has acquired the new Monopoly competition series after a bidding war. The reality show will feature alliances and betrayals in a capitalist race. The series is part of Netflix's strategy to develop an unscripted content based on the popular intellectual properties. The show is separate from the Monopoly feature film. They're making, well, we talked about Minecraft being made into a movie. Now they're going to make Monopoly into a movie.
That's any movie involving business.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
There's got to be a short guy with a top hat and a mustache.
Yeah, not
Mr.
a monocle
Monopoly.
though. Not a monocle.
You could put a monocle on the other guy and have it be his evil twin brother.
Yeah, your evil twin brother. What's it called, Mandela?
Yes. And did you ever watch the White Lotus series?
I did not. I heard it was really good, but I have not watched it.
I have not bothered to watch it either, but season 3 concluded with a record-breaking viewership of 6.2 million people, a 30% increase from the previous high. The seasons overall has been having strong ratings, with the premiere garnering 2.4 million viewers and the finale reaching that 2.8 million. The series is now close to 20 million viewers for the season. So
good
there
for
we go.
them.
So I can't tell you anything about it other than I think it takes place at a hotel in Bangkok or Thailand or something like that.
I couldn't even tell you that. I know there's been a couple times where I've heard about actors that I'm aware of that have been involved in it, but I couldn't even tell you any of those off the top of my head.
Well, one of the things you're into, and I think you've been lobbying your wife to get one, is a Nintendo Switch 2.
Oh, yep.
Nintendo has postponed pre-orders for the highly anticipated Switch 2 in the U.S. due to new tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Assessing potential price impacts, the tariffs on the components from China, Vietnam, and Cambodia suggest that the retail price could increase up to $180. The June 5th release date remains unchanged. So they're not sure what the price is going to be, but June 5th, here it comes. So parents, get ready for your kids to start saying, I need one of these.
Yeah, and they had just really explained what the new things of the Switch 2 were and the price that they were going to set for it just last week. They just had this big announcement, and a lot of people were upset at the price as it was. They saw it was $450 for just the base. And it was, so many people were up in arms, despite the fact that PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are also at that $500 price point. But a lot of people were upset. So the fact that the tariffs are now coming into play, could be seeing even higher prices. It's not looking great.
Could increase it another 180.
We could have another bust in a system which is based off of a really great system. You know, the Nintendo Switch has sold so many units. You know, getting in terms of video game consoles, it is up there in one of the most sold video game consoles in our history. So the idea that the sequel is now going to be hindered by not just price, but also the price because of tariffs is really unfortunate.
Well, Elton John says his distressing vision loss is getting worse. He says, I can see you, but I can't see the TV and I can't read. 78-year-old music legend told the Times of London in a published interview that I can't see my boys playing rugby and soccer. It's been very a stressful time because I'm used to soaking it all up. So Elton John losing his vision at this age.
Yeah, and it's another one of those where it's like we keep seeing more of these icons having health issues. It's really sad. Really sad to hear about, but I'm glad he's still around. He's still making appearances, which is
still a heck of a singer.
If my vision was going, I don't think I would be going around being like, "Hey, my vision's getting worse." I would probably be hiding in my house. So good on him for being out there.
Well, I want to thank Derek for joining us on another episode of Morning Talk. As we'll be back tomorrow at a little after 9:10 tomorrow. And if you missed this episode or Want to catch up on any of the others, you can go to kbrfradio.com or the Fergus Now app and check out all the other episodes that we have on for you. It's Morning Talk on News Talk 1250 KBRF. News is next.
This is Ryan.